Hello everyone, let's talk about exfoliation. This is such a common question that I get asked about all the time, and people totally overdo the exfoliation part of their skincare regimen. I blame TikTok partially for this because when the Ordinary Red Peel came out, it became so popular all over TikTok and everybody just burnt off their face using this red liquid. Anyway, rant over. There are two types of exfoliation: physical and chemical. This will be a 3-part series, and this is part 1 of the series. This video will discuss chemical exfoliation and the benefits of it. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Swati Kannan, and I am a board-certified dermatologist out here in California. Like most dermatologists, I am not a fan of physical exfoliation, and this includes beads, scrubs, microbeads, loofahs, towels, etc. Usually all of these forms of physical exfoliation, what they do is they cause micro tears on the skin, which then can lead to more inflammation and discoloration, and sometimes even worse than acne. I am definitely guilty of using the infamous St. Ives scrub. I used it when I was young in my teenage years, and it never really made my acne better, just gave me a whole bunch of irritation. So that's why a lot of us don't recommend that scrub anymore, even though people still love it. There is one type of physical exfoliation that I do like, and I will be discussing it in the subsequent videos, so stay tuned and hit the subscribe button. Also, do you guys exfoliate? What kinds of products do you use? Let me know and comment below. By the way, I am not against physical exfoliation on the body as long as you don't have inflammatory conditions like eczema or psoriasis. But I think physical exfoliation works really well for keratosis pilaris, which is that chicken skin that you can often get on the back of your arms or your thighs. For this, you can usually use a body scrub with an acid in it. Kopari has a KP Body Bumps Be Gone with 10% glycolic acid. I actually have this in my shower as well, and I do like it. I would recommend starting using it like once a week and then slowly build up use as tolerated. Always, if you're going to be using any acid on any part of the body or really any sort of exfoliation, make sure you moisturize afterwards. Moving on to chemical exfoliation, which is what the majority of this video will focus on. In general, we like to do chemical exfoliation with acids, but not all acids are exfoliating acids. For example, tranexamic acid, which I love for discoloration, is not an exfoliating acid. Similarly, hyaluronic acid, which is really great to help retain moisture, that is not an exfoliating acid. Labeling something as acid in chemistry just means that the molecule can donate hydrogen ions when it's in water. So that's what makes it an acid. And while we chemically exfoliate with acids, not all acids chemically exfoliate. So now that we have that down, how do chemical exfoliants work? So on my right, we have a model of skin. The skin is kind of like bricks and mortar. Bricks being the skin cells and mortar being the glue that holds the skin cells together. The topmost layer of the bricks is called stratum corneum. This is the topmost layer of the skin, which is composed of dead skin cells. And these cells naturally slough off on their own, but as we get older or for various other reasons, they like to get really sticky, and instead of sloughing off, they're like holding on to the rest of the skin and being like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. So that's when the chemical exfoliant comes in. The acid kind of like breaks down the mortar, breaks down the glue that's holding these dead skin cells together and helps them slough off much faster. This then leads to a ton of benefits like skin brightening and getting that glazed donut-like skin that everybody on TikTok wants. It also improves skin texture, it decreases acne, and there are also some collagen-producing benefits to some of the acids. Additionally, chemical exfoliation allows for other skincare products to penetrate better because now the stratum corneum, which is the biggest barrier to penetration of skincare products, it's not so sticky. However, if you do it improperly, or if you exfoliate too much or use very strong products, you can break down your skin barrier, which we talk about a lot, and cause irritation, inflammation, discoloration, and sometimes even worsen acne. So this video is going to teach you how to exfoliate like a pro, like a dermatologist. What are the best ways to exfoliate? If you're going to do a leave-on exfoliant, I always recommend to do it at nighttime, and then you rinse it off after the appropriate amount of time. The reason I like it at night is because there is no sun at nighttime, and so you are less likely to go out and about right after using the chemical exfoliant. You can also, for some chemical exfoliants, you can use a moisturizer if you're going to leave it on overnight, or use a moisturizer right after you rinse off the chemical exfoliant. You must wear sunscreen for days after the exfoliant. I mean, you should be wearing sunscreen every single day. That's, without using any products, you should be wearing sunscreen. But chemical exfoliation, these acids are going to make you a lot more sensitive to the sun. So if you're going to go to the beach afterwards, which I don't always recommend doing, but you need to up your sun protection game if you're using chemical exfoliation. Don't use other irritating ingredients on the same day. That means you don't use a retinoid or a vitamin C or a benzoyl peroxide or other irritating ingredients the same day you use your chemical exfoliant. And honestly, I recommend just doing these exfoliants like once a week, or if you're starting once every 2 weeks. Some of these bottles tell you to use the exfoliation like every single day or sometimes even twice a day, which is way too excessive. And it cannot even work that fast because your skin cells take a certain number of days to slough off. So if you're using the chemical exfoliation every single day, it can't make your skin cells really slough off any faster. For salicylic acid washes, I recommend doing this about once a day, especially for acne patients. Salicylic acid is really good. And for sebaceous filaments that we've talked about in a previous video. By the way, if the acid burns or tingles, that doesn't mean that it's working. That just means it's going to irritate the crap out of your skin. So if you feel that, rinse it off immediately and then use a moisturizer so that you can replenish that skin barrier. Finally, do not implement a chemical exfoliant until you've honed down the rest of your skincare regimen. So that includes, especially if you're doing this for anti-aging, you want to hone down your vitamin C in the morning, your retinoid at nighttime. You really want to get a good handle of how your skin responds to products. If you have dry skin, sensitive skin, do you know your skin type? Using chemical exfoliation is like doing long division. You can't do long division until you know how to add and subtract. That is why I say acids is like an intermediate to advanced skincare regimen. And if you get irritated with retinoids and vitamin C, then you really want to be careful starting chemical exfoliants. In this case, you can start exfoliants that are made for very sensitive skin, and we're going to go over that. So first, let's talk about alpha-hydroxy acids, also known as AHAs. There are 3 main types of AHAs. You have the glycolic acid, lactic acid, and mandelic acid. Glycolic acid is a smaller molecule and mandelic acid is a larger molecule. Why do we have to know molecular sizes? Well, the smaller the molecule, deeper it penetrates. So your glycolic acid is the smallest molecule, so it penetrates deeper. It's going to be one of the stronger acids and also has the highest risk of irritation. I personally like glycolic acid the best for anti-aging. It increases cell turnover, meaning the bottom cells come to the top a lot faster. There's also research that it helps with collagen production because it penetrates much deeper. Because it penetrates deeper, I think that it's a better acid initially for patients who have oily skin or just normal skin. If you have very dry or sensitive skin, I sometimes don't recommend starting immediately with glycolic acid. Use some of the other gentler products that we're going to discuss first. I recommend using glycolic acid under 10% at home. Now, just on a side note, we use similar acids for chemical peels in office. So for example, I will do a glycolic acid peel that goes from 30% to 70% for that deeper exfoliation. However, I do not recommend doing chemical peels at home just because these strengths are pretty high. So for home, the acid strengths are much, much lower. And use it once a week or once every 2 weeks if you're just starting. When we go into higher strengths above 10% at home, there's just a much higher risk of irritation and breaking down your skin barrier. This also includes the Ordinary brand, this guy. This is the Ordinary AHA 30%, BHA 2%. 30% glycolic acid is like freaking on steroids. I mean, it is way too strong to be using it on even a weekly basis. But this is what became so popular on TikTok because of its red liquid and really set this new trend of over exfoliation. I did try this, by the way, but as you can see, this bottle is still pretty full. It burnt off my skin. But now I use it for my body, so I'll use it for like my elbows, my knees. By the way, discoloration and darker skin types on these areas is normal, and there's a car honking or going off, so I'm sorry about that. But discoloration on elbows and knees is very normal. However, I don't like to throw away products, so whatever I don't like on my face, I use it on my body. Pro tip. Pro tip. The second one is lactic acid, so lactic being from milk. This molecule is medium sized. It's in between glycolic and mandelic. It's one of the better humectants, meaning it really draws in water to help hydrate. So you will see lactic acid in a lot of lotions as well. And it is pretty moisturizing and much less irritating than glycolic acid. It is also a really great brightening agent. So for example, if you have discoloration or just kind of dull, lifeless skin, then I do recommend lactic acid as a really good exfoliant. Lactic acid is also a really great acid to start your exfoliation regimen. Even if you have normal skin, it's always good to start with the lower strength if you need to. Mandelic acid is the biggest molecule and it is also fat soluble. So that means that if you have oily or acne prone skin, it's going to get into that oil and help exfoliate those areas as well. Mandelic acid is another one that's really good for pigment issues and it's the least irritating. So for sensitive skin, I love mandelic acid. Actually, I've used mandelic acid for myself, and that's how I first started my exfoliating journey. I started with mandelic acid products, and then I moved on to glycolic acid products. So at this time, you're like, where are the product recommendations? And I feel like there's so much information on acids, and I also just talk a lot. And so stay tuned, because the next video will talk about my favorite acids. I just wanted to give you a general overview of the different kinds of acids and what the ingredients mean, so that way when you are looking at bottles and reading through the ingredients, you are like, oh yes, this is mandelic acid. It's great for my sensitive skin. Or, oh, this 30% glycolic acid is going to rip off my skin. So I want you to get the basics first, and I promise my next video will give you recommendations. So stay tuned and subscribe. The nice thing about alpha-hydroxy acids is that they are all pregnancy safe, so they are really good products to use, especially if you have pigment issues during your pregnancy. But they do make you very sensitive to the sun. All chemical exfoliants do, so you must wear sunscreen every day and try to avoid going to the beach or something right after you do chemical exfoliation. AHAs are also humectants, so they also help to dry in water and hydrate. Moving on to beta-hydroxy acid, the most popular one is salicylic acid. Salicylic acid is oil soluble, so it's really great for oily and acne-prone skin. It helps with sebaceous filaments, blackheads, and really any sort of acne because it's also anti-inflammatory. Fun fact, salicylic acid and aspirin, they are from a willow bark, which is how we found aspirin.
Fun fact.
So you've probably seen salicylic acid in a ton of washes like this one. This is the Neutrogena 2% salicylic acid wash. CeraVe has it. I'm sure Cetaphil has it. A lot of brands make 2% salicylic acid wash. Now, if you are using an acne wash or really any sort of active wash, make sure that when you put it on your face, you leave it on for several minutes and then rinse it off. Otherwise, it's not really going to be effective. This also holds true for medicated shampoos. If you are going to be using a salicylic acid wash, use it once a day. I don't really recommend doing it twice a day, just because it is an exfoliating acid and it can irritate. And of note, salicylic acid is contraindicated in pregnancy, so you cannot use it if you're pregnant. Finally, let's move on to polyhydroxy acids, or PHAs. Poly-hydroxy acids are great for the ultra-sensitive skin or for patients who have rosacea. I love poly-hydroxy acids for those patients. They are very gentle chemical exfoliants, but don't be fooled. Gentle doesn't mean that it doesn't work. They still work. They still give you that dewy finish, and all without irritation. I consider PHAs like the sisters of AHAs, or maybe like the cousins of AHAs. The PHAs were made a lot later, but they are very similar to the AHAs. The PHA molecules are much larger, so they don't penetrate as deeply, which also means that they're much less irritating. They also brighten, and they also have humectant properties, so they help to hydrate. Some PHAs also fight what's called glycation, which is when a sugar molecule attaches to collagen or elastin underneath the skin, breaking it down. So these PHAs help to fight that process. That way you keep more of your collagen. On that note, this is why sugar is bad for your skin. So PHAs are kind of similar to antioxidants in that sense also, because they help fight glycation. There are three main types of PHAs: gluconolactone acid, lactobionic acid, and galactolactose. These are tongue twisters. The gluconolactone acid is very similar to glycolic acid. It's really great for the wintertime because it's actually very moisturizing. It helps to dry in water, like I've said countless times. I keep on repeating myself, but it also has some antioxidant benefits very similar to glycolic acid. Lactobionic acid is a cousin of lactic acid and very similar to lactic acid in terms of brightening and moisturizing. And galactolactose, which actually is one of the molecules also found in milk, this is the largest molecule and the most gentle of all chemical exfoliants. And PHAs are also safe in pregnancy. They also make you more sensitive to the sun, so the same rules apply to PHAs for sunscreen use. So I hope you found this basic overview of acids very helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know and comment below. I always respond to all of my comments. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because my next video is going to give you my favorite acids, or the recommendations for exfoliating acids, with all three categories in there. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and thank you so much for watching.